Let's go.
Hello, lovely people. This is your Ask Me Anything video. I received so many lovely questions from you guys that I am splitting this video up into 2 parts. And still, it only represents a fraction of the questions that you asked me, but hopefully it includes yours. Let's get into it. I've got them all right here. What's your nationality and what's your heritage? So I am indeed American. Both my parents are American. I grew up here in the United States. However, my heritage is I am half Italian, a quarter Hungarian, and a quarter German. I feel most connected to my Italian side because my grandparents emigrated from Italy. I have been to Italy so many times. I know my family there. I have many cousins. Where did I grow up and what was my childhood like? So I am from New York, but specifically I grew up on Long Island. That is the little fish-shaped island that goes east from Manhattan. My dad was a pilot, so he was gone a lot on, trips. My mom just kept us home. We didn't venture out too far. Luckily, I had a big backyard and my childhood memories are all really based there. Lots of imaginative play. I remember collecting, various bits and pieces and pretending that I was making dinner. Like the moss was broccoli and the little kind of dry woody bits of a branch were chicken, just crazy imagination. I also knew very early that I wanted to be a writer, probably the age of 7. So I have wonderful memories of sitting up in a very big tree in my front garden with a notebook and a pen and writing my first novel, my first stories. And then when I was about 12, I got into horseback riding, and that kind of transitioned into my teenage years, where I spent a lot of time every day after school down at the stables, taking care of my horse and learning to ride and having wonderful friendships. Got a sister? Nope. What career path would you be pursuing if you weren't in media? To be honest, I can't imagine doing anything that wasn't related to storytelling. That has been my passion from a young child, as I mentioned. I think some of you would expect me to say I would be a farmer. Maybe some would say, maybe run a restaurant. But I have firsthand experience with knowing how difficult, how challenging both of those jobs are. And no, I know I would not want to do either of those things. Farming, as you see on True Food TV, is incredibly difficult, challenging, risky work. I'm very happy to do my vegetable garden that we don't necessarily have to depend on, right? Eating from, although we do end up largely eating from it when things go well. I have experience with restaurants. One of my brothers had a catering business, and I was involved in that for a while, and I have seen firsthand the grueling hours of food and the hectic nature of a kitchen. Don't want that for myself. Okay, this next question comes from longtime TFTV member Dwayne. Shout out to you, Dwayne. Thanks for your question. How did I meet my husband? My husband, Mark. I was a reporter for the New York Times, and I was working on a story in which I needed an architect as a source to kind of sound off on this issue that I was covering. Back then, there was something called the Yellow Pages. I didn't know any architects in this area that I needed, so I kind of went like this and chose an architect with a difficult name, no less. I don't know why I chose that person. But I called him, and he ended up being a really great source for me. And we got on very well, and we chatted quite a bit. And he said, oh, what other kind of stories do you do? And I said, I wrote about travel. He said, oh, I have an old friend, Mark, who is also a journalist. And he is right now working on a travel news website. And you should be in touch. And I was like, oh my God, a website? Back then it was print, that was the real stuff. was like, yeah, okay, all right, yeah, sure, I can put him in touch. And we both kind of didn't get in touch. And then this architect friend was like, no, you should really get in touch. And finally, we did. Mark was living in Europe at the time, so we had a call. And we just had this like instant connection. We shared a lot of, common experiences. And we just started talking. I did eventually start writing for his awesome website and got to travel the world together. So a lot of our courtship was meeting up in, some place in the world that one of us was writing about. And that was really lovely. It's really nice to get to know somebody, first of all, by talking to them. For the first 8 months of knowing him, it was just phone calls. We worked together remotely, didn't even have a camera, didn't see him. He didn't see me. I saw maybe like a picture of his Skype, but we just talked. And we worked together, so we have always worked together. And that's a really kind of special way to get to know someone. Pros and cons of living in a century home. Actually, it's 2 centuries old. But yes, we live in sort of a very historic area. There are lots of kind of older houses like this here. But as you can see, this wall is actually one of the original outer walls of this house. And I look at these rocks and I think about the people who quarried them and, shaped them and put them up on this wall. I love living in a place with a history. It feels less like I own this house and more of like I am taking care of a heritage. I love the creaky floors and the odd interior window, just like the quirks. I'm thinking now of one of my favorite things is in the summertime when it's really hot. The front door is quite deep, so the walls are very thick because they're stone, right? And you can open that door and just have the screen door. And when it's raining on a really hot day, you can have the front door open and this lovely breeze coming in and the sound of the rain. And it's not really like a common experience in modern homes. Are you always as positive in real life as you are on camera? Yes. Yes. What you see is what I am. Okay, so let's talk about school, career. There's a whole bunch of questions that came in for that. What was your education and what was your work experience before starting TFTV? Did any of that help prepare you for running your own online video business? Okay, so my education, I went to university in Boston. I studied English literature, and I did do 1 year abroad in Madrid. When I was in university, I was convinced that I was going to become a novelist. That is what I wanted to do. I wanted to write novels. I took creative writing courses. My senior thesis was a novella. And then, like a lot of people, you graduate and you go, right, I have to, afford an apartment and food. You have to live. So I got into journalism, into newspaper reporting. I had never worked for any school newspapers or anything. I always had found erroneously that journalism was too dry. I wasn't interested in doing that kind of writing. But the challenge, of course, of any writing is to make whatever you're writing compelling. And I really do believe that those days of being first a weekly newspaper reporter, and then I started working at the Times and being a daily reporter, gave me a real work ethic. You have to hit those deadlines. It taught me how to research. It taught me how to ask questions. It taught me how to hook a reader or an audience very quickly, help me shape stories. That background, those early days of being a reporter absolutely helped me in what I do today. Do you work not counting the channel? Ooh, that's a good question. And you're gonna have to wait for the next video for that one. So make sure you have clicked that bell for notifications so you know when the part 2 of my Ask Me Anything video drops. Make sure you're subscribed, share, like, guys. Find me on social media. I'm at True Food TV. See you next time.